Thank you so for an opportunity that you have awarded us to talk to you regarding Masimba. Can you take us through your first quarter performance?
Okay. Yeah, our first quarter performance, in terms of prior year, there was an 8% growth, mainly largely to improved operational efficiency. As you will see on the margins, we were 3% down on the gross margins. This comes in line with two main issues. That's your product mix, that's your private sector, and also considering that normally this first quarter is a short quarter with a lot of fixed costs because we're coming in from a shutdown period, which is the December shutdown. So it's a short month with a fixed structure that you meet on the projects. So it's something that will self correct going forwards into the next quarters, whereby we have full time period available. So in terms of order book, we continue to strive on our order book. The order book is now hovering around 300 million, which is a mix of both public and private, so with your public sitting at around 66% and your 34% sitting in around the private sector. Coming into last year, in terms of our strategy, we understand that to remain competitive and continue to deliver quality products, we needed to look at our capex injection. That's why there's an increase into the capex requirements. We managed to do what we call back integration, making sure that we are self-reliant in terms of your product supply, in terms of materials. We invested in an asphalt plant, which we are now producing our own asphalt for the roads. Initially, in the past years, we were busy hiring or procuring asphalt from other parties. Now we are doing it internally, which is a major investment. We also did the same thing in terms of our precast concrete products. We now rely internally as part of our backward integration. That's why you see that. And some of it, in terms of the capex, is to enhance our quality and also have destiny in your hands when you start producing your own asphalt. Remember, Masimba, for 75 years, they believe in quality, and that's why they're in existence. So that was our major focus. Obviously, the other one is replacement model. We keep on going. We are not going to end here. We still have another 75 years to go, so we keep on replacing equipment that is aged to improve operational efficiency when you look at life cycle costing.
Okay, so how is the new plan that you have injected into the system increase your production capacity?
Yeah, it improves not only production. What's more important on the road network is your quality of asphalt. If you procure your asphalt, people they don't distinguish the source of the asphalt in the manufacturer. If you look at our leadership skills and technical expertise, we have experienced engineers and also people that we've brought in from abroad to help in establishing the quality standards of asphalt so that you don't have challenges. So it has actually improved our efficiencies in terms of road delivery, more importantly. Yeah.
Okay, so you have mentioned that your order book is now ranging 300 million. Yes, sorry. So, what's the diversification in that portfolio?
Yeah, I did mention that it's 66% public, largely for big road projects that we've already secured in the past. And then we are slowly improving our hit rate in the private sector, which includes mining, which includes housing, and so forth, so that there is a mix. We will still continue pursuing public sector projects, but we need to increase the dilution with private sector projects.
Okay. While revenue and profit grew in the first quarter, investors are increasingly focused on cash generated rather than earnings. So, can you provide more details on operating cash flows, debtor collection trends, and whether conversion improved your previous financial year?
Yes, our cash collection is actually improving. We're actually getting more resilient in terms of our cash position because of the product mix. As you see from the annual report, we were 56% private sector, which means that there is more revenue inflows. The quality of the earnings are actually improving. But government is cyclic in terms of payments. So it's not that they don't pay, but they eventually pay, but they are cyclic, but they would have affected your cycle with their projects subject to their own collections as government. They eventually pay, but it's just a matter of when and timing that we are trying to balance with the private sector.
Okay, so the government has been proposing to pay contractors like you in ZIG. What measures are you putting in place to protect your margins?
There's no threat in terms of the ZIG because every decision that government does is governed by contracts. So whenever they change a conversion to any currency, these are provided in the contracts in terms of how that will be dealt with, in terms of any loss of margins or any changes of currency. These are all covered. There is no prejudice in terms of being paid in the local currencies that it is. The only challenge is the market itself, where then you then get paid, and then there's no acceptance like the major players like Fuel. They don't accept the ZIG. That's where the problem then starts. But in terms of margins, there is no any threat to margins. It's what you're going to do with the ZIG. In terms of the suppliers, it must be a holistic approach where everyone accepts that when it's being paid, then everyone accepts the ZIG.
Okay, so following the geopolitical tensions in the Middle East, we have seen fuel rising. How has the fuel price rising impacted your business?
Again, it's the same issue, is governed by the contract. If there's any price changes, these are only covered in the contract in forms of escalation or rise and fall. So there's no major impact. The only issues might be the availability of the product, which is a concern that the product might end up disappearing on the market due to prices and other things like that. But in terms of contracts, every project is covered in terms of escalation, in terms of price increase, whether it's labor, whether it's fuel, whether it's cement, whether it's materials.
Okay. You once mentioned that a mix of you have got a growing mix of private sector-led projects, right? So, looking ahead, what proportion of your order book do you expect to come from private sector clients, maybe by the end of the year?
I think the best balance is not really a fixed number. I think operating between a 40 and 60 range each time, 40 to 60 private, that would be a very good ideal situation of running a business, because it depends on the microenvironment at that particular moment. But for you to solely depend on one sector, it can also be devastating or dangerous for the organization. For example, if you say 100% private sector, then commodity pricing can also come into play, and the minerals go down, then you don't have mining projects. So you have to offer between a range, which I think for us 40 to 60% is a good ratio between those two parties. Yeah.
Okay, so in the previous year, you once mentioned that you are in negotiation with a German company, if I'm mistaken, can correct me, to import an equipment to boost your production here. What's the latest development on that?
We did receive equipment worth 2 million, which is your milling machine and a reclaimer, which the milling machine was the only one in the country. We have got that machine. We actually used it successfully on the Kezi project for the Independence project, where we did 16 kilometers and we were the only contractor who managed to finish that road as quickly as possible because of that high-tech equipment.
In regards to that, you also mentioned that it is coming with a 9% interest rate.
Yeah, single digit.
So how do you intend to finance this payment? Is it internally? Or going to source outside?
Yeah, these are secrets though, but then it's a 5-year repayment, which is paid with good terms, and the equipment itself is being sweated and is paying itself through the projects. So it's a repayment through the projects, but already we got a facility for 5 years with the same firm in Germany, so we are now repaying.
Okay, so my last question is to you. Can you take us through your outlook for the year? How is it going to end?
Yeah, the year is definitely going to end better than last year. were guaranteed when we look at the project portfolio and also the resources that we have put in place and the plans that we've put in place. So we see ourselves doing better than the 61 million that we did last year. So we're going to be past the 61 million and more profitable.
By how many percent?
I think in terms of revenue, we're looking at plus 10%. We should be hovering around 70. The margins will actually probably either 1% up or 2% up. This is all mainly related to the fact that we still have almost the same product mix with the same margin that we tendered with. So there is not going to be really a marginal change except an improvement in our efficiencies.